Hello, fellow artists. This is Linda Riddle, and it's a good time for art. Today we're exploring watercolor, which is so portable you can take it anywhere. By the time you finish this video, you'll know some surprising watercolor tricks. And in the process of exploring these watercolor techniques, you'll become a lot more observant of the natural world. I invite you to step outside and focus on the trees. Take your time to look very carefully. How do the roots attach themselves to the ground? How do the branches connect to the tree trunk? How do the twigs attach to the branches? Which parts of a tree look strong and sturdy, and which parts look delicate? What kinds of textures can you find in the bark? Do you see negative shapes between the branches? Are tree trunks and branches always brown? Do you get a feeling of movement from the branches and foliage? What unique qualities do you see in the tree you are observing? Before we paint our own trees, let's get some inspiration from two very different artists. The French painter Paul Cézanne shows us how watercolor can have a unique delicacy and sparkle. The transparent colors can layer over one another to create new colors. In these paintings, Cézanne sometimes makes just a suggestion of trees, but we still get the feeling we are in the woods with light shimmering through the branches. Cézanne experimented with lots of colors, and so can you. Charles Burchfield was a 20th century American artist known for his passionate watercolors. As you can see, his interpretation of trees was quite different than Cézanne's. Burchfield sometimes used gouache, a more opaque watercolor, so we don't always see the sparkle and transparency we saw in Cézanne's paintings. But Burchfield's style had its own kind of magic. He gives us a distinct feeling of the weather and atmosphere in his paintings. In this landscape, he included all 4 seasons in one scene. This big tree in the foreground will be the focus of my painting. I love the way it grows sideways and how the branches curve and overlap. I'll be simplifying what I see. I'm using these lines, shapes, and textures as a starting point for a loose and playful painting. I'm making a simple line drawing with an oil pastel. Watercolor painters often start with pencil, but using an oil pastel will force me to keep things simple. It's tempting to get too detailed with a pencil. I won't even try to include the whole tree in my composition. You can see that I'm letting the branches grow right off the sides of the paper. I'll be using several different watercolor tricks in my painting. For a more detailed tutorial on these techniques, check out my previous video, Watercolor Tricks and Tips. I'll attach a link below. These are the paintings I started in the woods today. Every time I do this, I learn something new. With practice, you can eventually make more intricate watercolors if you want. Last but not least, here are some enchanting paintings by my elementary school students. You can see how carefully they looked at trees and how they explored the unique qualities of watercolor. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've learned to love watercolor and trees as much as I do. Happy painting! If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember, it's always a good time for art.